Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now we haven't been doing a lot of bench stuff lately, but it's about time we started talking about this Toxicant slide kit for the TM17 Gen 5. Now, the TM17 Gen 5 from Marui, my one, there's a lot that I can't show on this pistol. I didn't really want to mess with this all that much. So what I did, and I have to get Netsy's help to do a lot of blurring on this video, so apologies for that. It's literally just so the video can stay live. So I picked up a second Tokyo Marui 17 G5 MOS, brand new one. So I did have a full review for these pistols on the channel a while ago, but unfortunately it got taken down by Glock themselves. So all I'm going to be quickly doing is taking the slide off like that and just putting it to one side. So I bought a second pistol just to fit this slide kit because I really didn't want to mess with that. And then if we're having any like tests and stuff, we can compare the two, like a standard one compared to the one with the slide kit on. So we'll open this box back up and see what we have inside. So we did get extra bits which aren't related to this, which is in this one here, so that's non-related. So I'll pull out the slide and all the other little bits that come with it. We can pop that suppressor to one side, and this actually might work out as like a very cool little case for it. So Toxicant tend to ship their things, apart from the XM5, I don't think that came in anything, but the MCXs, the normal ones for instance, they came in cases as well. So we've got all these bits, so let's take a look at what we've got. So you can see we've got some kind of bracket here. This looks to me like it goes on the bottom of where your nozzle sits. So it's like a track for the nozzle. So we've got that piece there. What else have we got? We've got a lot of very small plastic bags that are taped as well. So apologies if this takes me a second to take out here. This just looks like a backing plate which has the NineX logo on it, which I imagine will interface with this. So it'll probably sit like that. And what else we've got in here? Nice that they put them in all these bags. I don't think the tape was really necessary because it just takes you a bit longer to get it out. So we've got another bracket here of some kind. Again, no instructions with this, and we've got a couple of screws. In this one here, we have like a recoil spring guide. You've got a two-stage spring guide on this, and it looks like it already has some like fat O-rings on there, and it gives you a spare one as well. So I imagine if you want to short stroke it a little bit more, you can do. Inside this one, we've got a hop unit. In here, it looks like we've got the RMR plates. So we've got one here, which already has the screws in. Got an extra screw there, an extra screw here. This looks like an acro plate. So I imagine this one's for like your RMRs. And this one, if you have an acro, it will sit on here as well. I'd like to get an acro, to be honest. I've never had one before. I'm not sure if they're good or bad, but in this next bag, we've got some iron sights. This is starting to get a little bit annoying. That's where the tape is stronger than the plastic of the bag. I'll be giving this one to this video to Netsy to edit, because I dare say there's some things that are going to have to be blurred out. So hopefully you can cut down some of the bits in between when I'm chatting. So we've got a front and a rear iron sight there. You can pull the slide out. You have the slide, very, very nice indeed. And then you'll have your RMR plate, which I presume goes that way. Not entirely sure, but there we go. So you've got your RMR plate there, so you can put your red dot on there. We've already got screws, so we can actually mount something to this if I've got something to hand. And then in here, we've got the outer barrel, which will interface with the hop unit, and we've got a spring here with some little screws which will help retain the barrel assembly with the outer barrel. So you've got ports on this barrel, and when this is situated into the slide, into the kit, those ports line up perfectly. I really do like this design. It's very, very nice. So this is where it might get a bit tricky. If there's areas that are blurred out, I apologise. I'll do my best to minimise it. So we're going to want to pull out our spring guide. Funny story about this. Ask Snasher in the Discord. He decided to take this pistol apart in the safe zone. The one he's like, "Oh, can I have a look at that new pistol?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Turn around for half a second, and the guy's got it apart, and then loses part of the spring guide across the safe zone. And luckily, one of the guys on site managed to find it. So these, for plastic slides, these are really robust. It's some of the most robust plastic I've ever seen, and it's got a fair bit of weight to it as well. So I've never had one of these apart before. I've never had to take my other one apart because it's still fairly new. We won't be needing the iron sights. On these standard slides, you've got a little button you can press at the back, which you can take your plate off. So what I'm going to have to do here is settle this to one side. So again, I've got no idea how this comes apart. I imagine we just start pulling screws out and see how we go. And I just wanted to, my first 17, I just wanted to leave it as it is. It's still got all the standard barrel and hot rubber in there. And I just kind of wanted to leave it well alone. And luckily managed to get this. I'm not going to mention who they are just in case, but shop here in the UK managed to get me another one. So we can do this conversion without having to worry about messing with the other one. So not sure how this comes out. So I might just need a minute or two to suss it, but should be fairly self-explanatory. We do have a tiny little Phillips screw down there. Usually with these Maruis, you tend to part the slide, or on the older models, you used to part the slide. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case on this one. It looks fairly well situated in there, and the slide is so strong. So we're just going to have to go with it and see. This part here looks like it comes out the top. Yeah, it does. Again, I've never ever took this apart before, so we do have some kind of spring in the back here, which is probably the spring for the top plate. So this is going to have to come out. How that comes out, I don't know. There we go. So that just pulls out. It's just a bit tight in there. It's not a problem. So with that pulled out, I imagine we might be able to now push. Yeah, we can push. So I'm just pulling the slide apart ever so slightly and pushing the blowback unit down. Just going off what I've had with previous Marui pistols, I am flying in the dark just ever so slightly. So this is held in by the slide. So the slide sort of grips around it. So usually you have to like pull the slide just enough to slide it out. Just making sure I'm correcting my assumptions. It does look like that's how it does come out. It does kind of feel like that's the case as well. Yeah, there we go. Be very careful with it. Like the rails of the slide, you're just pulling them apart. This is obviously the spring and the button for the top plate. And as I'm slightly bowing it out, I'm just pushing down. And what that means is we can slide it out of the slide itself. And there's your blowback unit. So you've got an encapsulated recoil, a nozzle spring, sorry. So again, not entirely sure on how this system works. It's new to me. Maybe we remove these two screws to release that spring. It would make sense. So they might not supply you with instructions because it might be very straightforward. Yeah, so literally two screws and then that just slides out there. It's sort of encapsulated with like the piston cup for the blowback unit, and I imagine, I can't actually see anything on the back here to signify how that's held in place. I really am not too sure. Maybe this is like a two-piece design. Really not sure. I've got a little flathead. There is a pin on the nozzle. So this is the top of the nozzle. Looking down, it goes left to right. Pull that little pin out and we should be able to extract this. And there's our valve spring. Nozzle spring is encapsulated in this back piece. Just investigating further because I am kind of curious on how they've got that stuck in there. So we can pull the cup off like that. Just looking through, and yeah, it looks like a little screw. So you have like a little Phillips. In fact, that just slid off. With the cup removed, what you can do is you can slide this off like that. Very interesting. Don't know why they wouldn't make that one piece unless it's just easier to make it from two pieces. I did say it did look like it was made from two pieces. So yeah, in the bottom of there, you're probably not going to be able to see it. I'll try and get it on camera. There is basically a very small screw inside at the bottom. You might see it, you might not. So that's the whole thing pretty much pulled apart from the barrel and such. So this piece obviously resembles this piece. This part looks like what it does is it's maybe just dropped in to there. Would kind of make sense. So it would be that way. So that drops onto there like that. That's obviously slides over still. And then that's the old one. This will come in. Will it situate like that? Will it be the other way around like that? So that'll situate like that. So we did have those two screws, countersunk screws that have come with it will be for the main part of it there. We've got two smaller screws, which I'm not entirely sure. I don't think it's for, it doesn't make sense that it's for that. To me, it would make sense that you use the original ones because they're a much, much smaller thread. So we're going to try that. I'm going to put these little screws in here. Those seem to go in pretty well. Just put a little bit of torque on here. We're not going to go too crazy like that. We could put our cup seal, whatever you want to call this part, back over there. We didn't actually need to strip the nozzle at all. I'm just of course doing it for you guys so you can see, and then basically just lining the spring up with the top section at the top there, and I'm just lining that up. Before I do that, I need to put the valve back in, don't I? That'd help. So put our valve back in. Again, you don't have to remove these parts. I was just, like I say, curious to see what was going on. So the back of the actual valve is grooved for the spring and the pin. So we can push that in. Maybe we need to pull that into place. So with this spring, it doesn't really sit very proud. Now, I imagine we're going to have to compress that seal a little bit to be able to line it up properly. But yeah, the back of the valve has like a little section for that spring to sit into, like that. So I'm going to try and line this up here. Obviously with the normal models you just have the nozzle spring on the top, which is very much a lot easier. Now, is it just a case of we actually have a groove on this pin as well to hold the spring in the centre? Just bear with me while I mess about trying to line this up here. I think the valve isn't quite lined up because it's not closing. It's not closing in on itself, so I can't seem to get that to. There we go. So it helps if you get a tool in from underneath. So we'll compress that down. We'll put the little flathead in to basically hold that valve out the way because it was getting stuck as I was trying to line this up, and then I can push this in. The spring, I can see it. Just need to be very careful here that we don't damage it. I was trying to keep all this fairly in shot so you can not completely in the dark of what I'm doing. I would probably advise against removing any of this stuff. I'm sure there's probably a better way to do it. So we can get that pin in halfway like that, which should situate it. How are we going to get this to stick out far enough to stay in place? I'm just going to have to roll with it, try and get that spring placed down. I think I've just done it. No. No you didn't. I'm sure someone's screaming at the camera going, that's how you do it. Keep that there, but as you push the pin, it pushes the spring out the way. There we go, I've done it. So all I did was push the valve in push the pin in halfway before it gets to the little slot where the spring sits, just to hold the valve down, and then just watched it, push this in, compressed it, and then push the pin in, and all the stars seem to align, because when we test it, the spring is encapsulated, which is good. Now we can get rid of the old unit there. This one's going to come in like this and situate like that. And then we're going to use, I imagine, these screws here. Were those the old screws? I think those are the old screws. We've got some countersunk Allen key screws, so these are the ones that come out of it originally. And we need our fancy slide. We've got our backing plate as well to worry about, so we're going to put the backing plate in there as well. And we're going to slide all this down. So do we put the backing plate in first? So the backing plate can sit in there like that. Do we have to load? I think we have to load that in from the bottom, because we can't actually, unless you rotate it maybe, no, it doesn't want to come out. So load that in from the bottom, push this bracket piece in, so it does have a bit of springiness to it. So do we have to lock that in place first? We still get the nozzle out. This is very, I'm trying to figure this out as I'm doing it. So it looks like we've actually got slots where we can push this in. So these slots go in like that. So basically it sits forward, you drop it in the slots, and then you pull it to the rear. Then you take your nozzle, you come in from the top, line that up with that blowback unit piece. We need to do another step first, because I've just noticed that this iron sight sits in the front, in front of where your red dot would be. So you would have to, I'm not sure I'm a fan of that, but we'll see how it does. Do we have the correct Allen key? It's going to be a small one, like a 1.5. Yeah, 1.5. So we line that up first. And again, feel free to scream at me in the comments. This is the first time I've ever seen this kit, so I'm just trying to get it right. It looks like we've got a dovetail on there, so probably should have done this first. But again, without instructions, how are you meant to know? So you slide the rear iron sight into the dovetail, then we can put the screw in. Then we take these two bits that sit more forward, like that. Then they slide back into the assembly. Then we take our nozzle assembly, and that slides in from the top, and then we can align it like so. Do we need to use that part from the original? I don't think so, do we? Does that just, oh, it must just screw into there. Okay. Okay, makes sense. So we need to then put the RMR plate in. There's a lot of guesswork that's going into this. So we'll try and put a bit of pressure there to keep that lined up. The RMR plate goes in, that flips down like that. We then need to line everything up like that. We've got our two screws which go in the back here. I'm not a massive fan of using such a small countersunk screw, because, you know, 1.5mm Allen key screws tend to strip out very easy, just due to the size, if you need to put any kind of torque on them. So I'm going to be very careful how much torque I apply, otherwise we'll be hammering in Torx bits to remove them. So push that in like that. That's in place now. So we have the RMR plate ready to go. This will bottom out, so you just need to be careful how far these screws go in. So that's the back section done. We have the front sight we need to put in. So this is, again, very simple. We take the little countersunk screw, which again is a 1.5mm Allen key, line this up with the front of the slide. It's got a pin on there so you can place it in there. Get our little screw like this and screw that into place. Again, being very careful on how much torque you apply. Like that. And that is the blowback unit in. Does it does operate smoothly. We have an oil pen left. Is that an oil pen or is that a grease pen? So I'm just going to drop a bit onto that cup just to lube it up here, and that will seep down onto the rubber and lubricate it. So those are the old bits, that's the old bit. This is the new hop unit, which does look very self-explanatory. Again, we're going to be using a small 1.5mm Allen key just to loosen that spring off to get it out of the way. Same 1.5mm Allen key to pull apart two halves. So we've got two screws. So we can remove those two screws, pull the hop unit apart. Can we? Yep, there we go. We take our original barrel assembly. Now we're going to be using, by the looks of it, the wheels. We're going to be using the arm, and we're going to be using the inner components. So we do have to remove some of these parts. So let's get a small Phillips for this screw. That one doesn't want to fit. Like this one. There we go. Just make sure you use the right size, otherwise you'll strip it out and then you're having a bad day. So pull that screw off, you pull the first wheel off, there is an O-ring underneath it. We can pull off the second cog once the first one's been removed. And then we've got the two screws to pull this apart. What would be nice with these kits is, like, you know, I don't think it's a bad price for the kit from what I've seen online. I'm not going to quote on the price or where to get it from because you can very easily figure that out. I haven't purchased this. This was sent to me by Toxicant in a random package they sent me. No, I've never sugarcoated anything with Toxicant. I've always said how it is. So our barrel and our hop rubber will go in like that. We've got the arm which sits inside the hop unit, which we will have to reuse, I believe. So this, the way this goes in is you have to slide it in. So you're just sliding it in like so, like that, and then you're pivoting it to the side so it sits in place and it's encapsulated on this side. So once that's in place, we can drop it over our hop and barrel, and we can secure this in place just to make sure we're not fumbling. 1.5mm Allen key, like so. Don't go silly with the torque, just enough to nip it up without it slipping. There you go. Hop unit is installed. Now what we need to do, we do have a new screw on this side which is bigger, which is nice because you're not having to use a microscopic Phillips head. Now I imagine we're also going to need to take off this O-ring. That would make sense, but if not, we can always remove it again. This is just going to apply a bit of friction or resistance to the wheel. Now the first wheel, you just need to be careful because this has got a little slot in it, and this is how your hop up works. So as this wheel gets turned round, it applies pressure to this little arm that sticks out, and that's what gives you your hop. So usually what you want to do is find, if it's got a spiral like this, find the part of the spiral that's furthest out on the wheel. So you can see that's this bit up here, and as it goes in it gets tighter. So we're going to put the furthest part out, and you can see it better on this side actually. Furthest part out, slot it in like that. You've got a little notch here, which is probably how to clock these correctly. So you've got a little notch on this wheel, and then we should have a notch on this wheel as well. So you've got a little notch on that one as well. Very easy. We can pop our new screw on. Oh, or drop it first, you know, we've got to get the first droppage out of the way, haven't we? And we can screw this in. It's a much bigger screw, which is nice. We don't want to spin the hop as we do this, so we're just going to place a tool or a fingernail in there just to stop it from spinning. That can apply the pressure, and now you can test. So this is actually quite hard to turn. So what I'm going to, because we've got that O-ring on there, I'm just going to back it out just a hair, because I want it to be able to turn, but I don't want it to be able to turn on its own. So it's still getting a little bit stuck there, so I'm going to back it out a slight more. We just want it to turn nice and freely, like that. And a bit of resistance is nice, because what that means is once you've set your hop, it's not going to loosen itself off. Now note that screw is spinning with the wheel, so that could be a potential issue. So see how it's spinning? So what that means is as you're applying hop, that screw is actually tightening on itself. So I'm just going to back it out a little bit more, and we're going to set it, for my sake, because I've already been and shot this thing on the range, so I kind of know. I'm going to try and set it about halfway. with having two of these guns, one standard and one with a fancy kit on there, we can play around with upgrade parts. So perhaps we can put a nice barrel and hop in this one and test and compare the performance with the standard setup. So inner barrel is going to glide in like this. This is probably one of the easiest kits. Once you know how it goes together, apart from that nozzle spring, like that hop chamber just going straight in and not having to mess about with it is very, very well received. So that's just going to keep your hop and barrel system inside the outer barrel. So it's not going to allow it to come out all the way because it's going to be applying spring pressure. This is something that a lot of brands are doing now to maybe stop the pistols jamming up. Now again, I'm going to tighten these down, but I don't want to go overboard. I also want to make sure that I'm not torquing the spring, so I'm going to try and hold the spring as I tighten it, because as you tighten it, you'll spin the spring with the screw. Don't want to like distort or twist it. So I'm going to put that little screw on there so we don't lose it. We're going to put the two halves of the standard hop unit back together again so we don't lose it. We've got spares for days now. If everything doesn't go to plan, we can still come back, fit all this stuff back into the original one, and we're still having a good time. So there's our barrel assembled. Very nice. We slide this in to the slide assembly, and now we've got this thing. So it does look a fair bit different in terms of, not in terms of concept, but in terms of the geometry and stuff. There is like a small grub screw holding this assembly together. Now I imagine these O-rings and stuff will interface with this part of the pistol, so it will sit in there and that will try and hold it. I imagine those little O-rings will help hold it in position. So we're going to fit this into the slide. Will it go in nice and easy? So sometimes with these spring guides on a lot of pistols, you won't be able to just push them in like that. What you have to do is, I used to call this the syringe technique. It's not like something that I've picked up online. It's just what I used to call it, because it's kind of like a syringe method that I always used to, back when I was teching a lot, I used to say, well, just use the syringe method. People go, what's that? You basically grip it like that and just actuate it like a syringe, push your assembly in, and then slowly let go like that. You heard it here first, folks. Right, we can slide this assembly back on. Try and make sure everything aligns. So that's going to want to sit in a very certain place. Not quite going into position here. So it is getting stuck. I can't tell what on. What are you getting stuck on? The front part of the pistol slides nice, so it's a little bit loose, but it slides nice. You get this far, it slides in, and then it just gets stuck, like proper stuck. Everything on this has been fitted to my understanding correctly. I think the tolerances are just very, very tight. Maybe a bit too tight on this hop unit. So yeah, this tolerance here, this gap is a lot tighter. So this, you've got more space here at the bottom. It does look like when the two halves of the hop unit are screwed together, like it's got like almost like a bit that sticks out in between the seams. So the only choice I've got really is to clearance it out. I can't even get the file in there. So you see how that one, the file goes in, and this one can't get it in there. So do we just clearance this? I think it's a manufacturing error with the two hop unit halves because they don't quite sit correctly. So clearance that. Will that now? Yeah, so see now it latches in. It's just that part was too tight. So if you are fitting this kit and you have the same problem, now you know. Trial and error. It is getting caught like that. So it's not like actuating down smoothly like that. It's getting stuck. It's definitely binding up. I don't see any obvious damage. Oh, there on the barrel. Maybe. It seems alright. I think this track of the hop. Oh, I see the problem. I know what it is. The screws are protruding on the hop unit. Interesting. But these are the screws they provided with the kit. What I would have liked is if Maru would have notched that so you could like get the... But yeah, basically, if we can get this thing out, got a little bit of damage there. So the screw in the kit was sticking out here. So why would they give you screws that are too long? I thought both the screws were the same length. Let's quickly pull this apart. Hopefully Netsy can cut out all the garbage. Could be the answer to all our prayers though. Fix one issue, another one pops up. Are these screws the same length? Yes. Right. So they're the same length, they're too long. So the screws they provided you are too long. Are they as long as the original ones? They're ever so slightly shorter. So some modification on one of these screws is going to need to happen to thin it down basically. See, that one does, but it doesn't really matter. This one is the one that matters, and we've chunked up the outer barrel there because of it. Can confirm screws are made of a very soft steel. Have I modified it enough? Oh right, I think I did. Bang on the money. Right, let's start again. So yeah, manufacturing error is part of the issue. You know, tolerances with the screws, they provide the screws should be the right length, blah, 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 blah. Partly, I didn't spot it. You'd like to think these kits are just doing away where you fit them all together now. Usually with airsoft, they're normally not, but hopefully we put this in and it fixes all of our issues, which would be nice. And then if it is, at least this video can go out to you guys, and if you've got the same kit, you just, as you assemble your hop unit, you just look for that little screw and you're like, right, is that screw sticking out? No, good to go. Is that screw sticking out? Yes, not good to go. It's also with that part of the hop unit that was too tight as well. And they do always say, you know, make sure you get these kits fitted by experienced techs or experienced users. And it's just little things like this pop up all the time. It's kind of them saying, well, some of the stuff might not go together quite right, so make sure you're prepared for that. Kind of. Right, if this still doesn't work, I'm drawing a blank with it, but hopefully, yeah, that one pesky screw. Right, we've got it fitted. Blowback action's really nice. Really, it does really feel good. I mean, when you compare it to the normal one. Oh, I'm out of gas. Of course I am. Of course I am. I ain't got another Maru mag gassed up, but yeah, it feels good. So, key things to take away from this video. Number one, Netsy's probably going to be absolute boss and take this hour-long video down to as little as he can. Hopefully he can do that. Sorry, Netsy. I know you work hard on these videos, but a few things to take away. Persevere. Don't pull apart your spring assembly nozzle if you don't want to have a ball ache fitting it back in. Just leave it alone. Number two, make sure that the gap in your... What I would do is get your hop unit before you fit it into the kit, and just slide it into the track where it normally sits in the frame. Just check that tolerance, which is this gap here. If it's too tight, just file it out till it slots in nicely, good to go. Number three, when you screw the thing together, just make sure, and to be honest, I was checking it against those screws, they're the wrong ones, I should have been checking it against these ones. But when you screw the thing together, just flip it over and make sure that they haven't supplied you with screws that are too long. See, they should be nice and hidden. That all being done, you can fit this kit and it will actually function as intended. So I need to put an RMR on this. I'm going to have a play around with it as well. Do I have anything to hand? I'm not entirely sure. So I'll find a red dot out for it. And of course, I'll be running this over the next few months. Just really giving it a go for its money, and hopefully be able to come back and say, is it worth your money, is it not? Just be sure to catch those couple of things before you assemble it. It can always happen. To be honest, I'd rather have little issues like that than have something that you've got to completely file all the, back to the old days where, you are filing all the slots in the, you know, the pieces in the slide that slot into each other, the rails, to try and get them to fit properly. So all that ahead, you know, it does actually slide really smooth. It actually feels really good. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this helps you if you're fitting the kit to your G17. And Netzy, really sorry about the length, really sorry about the blurring that you're gonna have to do on certain things. But that is the 9x19 slide from Toxicant for the Marui 17 G5 MOS. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, from me and Bench, we'll be seeing you in the next one.